Some Liberal MPs issue an ultimatum to Trudeau. Make up your mind to stay or go by October 28th. More Liberal MPs saying, Trudeau, it is time to go. You are no longer welcome. Interesting. Will we get a response from Trudeau today? Probably not. Will Trudeau step down? Probably not. Will he resign? Probably not. But you know what I do know? Let's get into the SDTC. This has been going on for over a month now. The RCMP, the Liberal bought and paid for and backed RCMP, has claimed they have found a USB or have received or acquired a USB key with some sort of information, whether it is going to play into this quote-unquote investigation they are doing. I don't know, but let's take a little listen here, shall we?
One other issue that's been permeating through Parliament Hill. It's actually got Parliament Hill at a standstill. It's a decision by an order by the House of Commons to ask the government to turn over documents related to something called Sustainable Development Technology Canada, SDTC for short. It's basically like a green tech fund that the Auditor General said was completely mired in conflicts of interest. The docs, what's interesting here is the order then provides for the documents to go, unredacted documents to go directly to the RCMP. The first question I have is, are you investigating what went on at the SDTC? Because a couple of months ago, the RCMP offered one answer, and then it seems as though lately there is an investigation. Are you investigating?
So I can confirm that we are investigating. And we're going, we did receive the motion that was put forth in the House of Commons. We did receive a USB key that we have stored for the moment. We're still going through available information that's out there to conduct investigation. And there are concerns. I've shared my concerns when it comes to the Charter of Rights. We're dealing with two different processes here. You're dealing with the legislative branch and the executive branch. And the concern that's been shared is the fact that we operate within a judicial process that's very strict. So if I need documents, I need grounds to go and get a search warrant to get those documents. And by going the other way, you're bringing documents that perhaps the police would never have any grounds to obtain these documents. So it's that balance. But what we're doing right now is we're going through everything that's publicly available, and then we'll assess what the next steps are.
What's a USB key? Like, what does that have to do?
Sorry, those little insert keys for the.
But like, what's that? What does that mean?
So
that's where the documents are?
Yeah. So the law clerk. So what we had requested to facilitate our work, it was to make sure that every document was identified if it's parliamentary privilege and how it was obtained, because you got to understand that there's different process where the Office of the Attorney General, when she's doing her work, she operates through a certain set of rules, but those rules might be different when you come into criminal space. So you just can't take a document from her and bring it in. There's a process to do that. So the information was downloaded on a stick, on a USB stick, and we have it in our possession.
And have you haven't looked through it yet, though?
We haven't gotten to that. We're exhausting everything we can in the public domain first.
And that stick that you have, is it your impression that contains information that you otherwise would have had to, obtain a warrant to obtain? Because there's still documents outstanding. That's why we're at paralysis, basically, right?
Yeah, there's still
documents. You're aware,
there's still documents out there, and again, I haven't seen what's on the stick. And I'll just comment to the fact that we're going to everything that's in the public domain. The ethics commissioner also has a report in which we're going through. If I go back to the Auditor General, she did not see any criminality in her review, and by her mandate is if she does see any criminality, she should stop her investigation and refer it to the RCMP, which hasn't happened. We're going through the.
So why are you investigating them if you weren't a few months ago?
Well, we did. There was a complaint, and if we receive a complaint, we're investigating. So. And
where did that complaint originate?
I'd have to go back. I'm not quite sure. I'd love to tell you. There's no secret, but I just don't have it with me.
These are some pretty bad answers. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of what seems to be running around the question, and we're doing this, and we plan on doing that, and maybe one day we'll get to what is the actual answer. Probably not, though.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer estimates the Liberal government will run a $46.8 billion deficit this year. The Liberals have missed their own spending target by $7 billion. Meaning that they have blown away all of their fiscal anchors, leaving Canadians adrift amongst a fiscal nightmare. Enough is enough. This runaway spending and corruption train must be stopped with a carbon tax election so that Canadians can elect a common sense Conservative government that will fix the budget and end this inflationary spending.
The honourable member from Sault Ste. Marie.
Speaker, attempts at foreign interference unfortunately have become a reality in Canada and around the world.
And I wonder who's allowed that, Mr. Terry Sheehan? Who's allowed that to happen, buddy?
And Iranian attempts to influence. Our country and our leaders must be prepared to confront these challenges head on. And that is what leaders do. They take these issues seriously. They learn about them. And they work with our national security officials to prevent them. They do not stick their heads in the sand. The leader of the Conservative Party is the only leader in this House who has chosen not to obtain the security clearance needed to
Here we go, we got the security clearance again.
Safe. Will the leader of the official opposition come out of hiding, get the security clearance, take the security brief, and keep Canadians safe? Thank you very much, Speaker.
The honourable member from York Simcoe.
Mr. Speaker, life has never been...
Yeah, at the top of the chat there, I have a pinned comment of 4 of the different, or at least 4 names that are involved with the foreign interference.
2 million Canadians relying on food bank every month just to survive. Many of these food banks regularly run out of food because of skyrocketing demand, with lines stretching for blocks. This Prime Minister is just not worth the cost. His failed agenda has forced people into choosing between paying rent, heating their homes, or putting food on the table. And the Liberals have only made it worse by increasing the carbon tax by 23%, with plans to quadruple it and force even more Canadians to go hungry. Canadians may not be well fed, Mr. Speaker.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Keep the names rolling. Don't just stop because you got 4 people out here. Keep going. Expose every single one of them. This needs to end, man. This can't continue.
The honourable member from Langley Aldergrove.
Today, the leader of the Common Sense Conservatives announced that we will be axing the federal sales tax on...
As of right now, I think those are the only 4 names that have been, been listed. There may or may not be more. We'll have to see in the upcoming days. Would be great. Question period has begun. It looks like Scheer is here.
This NDP Liberal government, it's clear the Prime Minister is not worth the cost of housing. He created housing hell by doubling rents, mortgage payments, and the needed down payment. And as housing prices skyrocket, the greedy federal government rakes in the cash. The Prime Minister now collects more in taxes on the sale of a new home than the carpenter or electrician that actually builds the house. The solution? Our common sense plan to axe the federal sales tax on new homes. On an $800,000 home, this will save a homebuyer $40,000. So why not provide some much needed relief and axe the tax off of new homes?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to see the Conservatives have taken some inspiration from our plan in removing the GST to help get more homes built. But what's completely unacceptable is how they say they're going to pay for it. And this is telling about their strategy across a range of policy areas. They want to cut the programs that are going to deliver housing for low-income and middle-class families today, just like they plan to cut the programs that are going to provide dental care for families who need it, like they plan to cut the programs that will deliver birth control to Canadian women for free, like the way that they oppose programs that to support seniors with pensions, students with student loans, and families with the cost of raising kids. It's time to build, not cut.
I entirely agree. It's the tip of the iceberg, and we probably won't get any further than that.
Actually, the Liberals' own housing advisor said that the Liberal plan is, quote, turning out to be nothing more than a heist of tax dollars flowing from the feds to municipalities. They fund bureaucracy and photo ops, not build new homes. It used to be in this country that it took 25 years for the average family to pay off their house. Now it takes 25 years just to save up for the down payment. Our plan on an $800,000 home will save a new home buyer $2,200 a year in mortgage payments. $800,000 used to buy you a mansion. Now you're lucky if you get 4 walls and a roof in Toronto and Vancouver. So why not adopt our plan and axe the tax off of new homes?
Toronto, Vancouver, 2 of the most expensive cities to live in.
Mr. Speaker, when he says adopt their plan to cut the supports for cities who are going to build homes, the plans to cut the money that's actually going to build the infrastructure to make home building possible. He talks about bureaucracy. He must not have read the line in his own plan that says that they want to hire new bureaucrats just to run a snitch line if you don't like your neighbor's housing policies. They came up with this stuff on the backside of a napkin after Googling housing for 5 minutes. When you actually talk to the people who have experience building homes, they will tell you how to get it done. We're going to follow the advice of the people who are building homes and talk to the people who have lived experience with housing needs.
The honourable member from Regina Capel.
This from the minister who admitted at committee that his housing plan doesn't actually build homes. Their plan funds bureaucracy and photo ops. And the more the Liberals spend, the less they build and the more Canadians have to pay. Since this Prime Minister started giving hundreds of millions of dollars to city politicians, housing starts are down. They're down 10% in Ottawa, 15% in Winnipeg, and down 20% in Vancouver and Toronto. So why won't the government adopt our common sense plan to build the homes by axing the tax?
Yes, we should not have a separate policing system here from China. Out of, just no other country, period, should have their own policing system here. I don't understand it either. People that are trying to literally escape communism, escape dictatorships, and then they end up bringing these exact same things, the very things that they are trying to run away from here. Our government is just insane.
They want to cut housing, they want to cut healthcare, they want to cut supports to families, and that is completely unacceptable.
You hear it all the time in the States too. People who have legally immigrated into the States, they have escaped dictatorships, they've escaped communism, they've escaped poverty, they've escaped the country they used to live in because it was terrible. And then you see the people that are currently in power trying to implement Marxist ideas, communist ideas, these different ideologies that do not work in a Western society. And they are fundamentally annihilating Western society by doing it. And you have these people who have legally immigrated, and they're looking at this going, what the actual hell are you guys doing? You don't understand how truly bad it is over in those other countries. You don't understand how good you have it here. People like this right here, Chrystia Freeland, perfect example of destroying the country.
Leader gave an honest answer about his plan to make cuts. He said, we are going to cut programs, 2 for sure, and others that are underway. Under the Conservatives, Canadians will have fewer homes built more slowly. They'll have more costly visits to the dentist, later retirements, and families will have fewer supports. These cuts are completely unacceptable. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' housing advisor said this morning that the Liberals' photo ops plan, the plan to accelerate home building, is useless and inefficient. You know, we've always assumed in Quebec that young people would be able to dream of having a home, but unfortunately after 9 years of the Liberal bloc, the boss of Desjardins has confirmed that young people are going to have to wait 10-15 years longer than their parents before becoming homeowners. They won't be young anymore by the time they can afford a house. We need to get going. A generation is waiting. When will the Liberal bloc accept our common sense proposal to axe the GST on new homes?